So here we are at Elizabeth Rogers Garden next to John Rogers Park. And I think, if I deduce this correctly, they're related. But unrelated to that, we're here to talk about leather. Specifically, what the differences are in the parts of the leather hide. Now, we get this question a lot. A lot of people come in, hey, what's this, Bailey? Hey, what's the difference between shoulder and bend? You know, what's that? What's this? What's that? Please. The answer is always long-winded, frankly boring, who's frank, and full of nuances depending on what you're making. Now, but in this video, we'll make it short, digestible, just like Ritz sandwiches. You know those little tiny ones? Delicious, not a sponsor. And we'll make it easy for you to understand so you can know what to choose, you know what to get online, in store. Let's go. So now we're here at our new, fully renovated, fancy yet functional, new studio. Now, if you want to start leatherwork and try it out before buying all this stuff, come take a workshop with us. You can use the code FIRSTPROJECT to get 10% off your first workshop. Shh, don't tell anybody. It's a secret. Only if they subscribe. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. Really helps us make more of these videos to help you with your leatherwork. All right, let's get to it. So the main question is, what's so important about choosing parts of the hide? Now, let me tell you this, because it is. Thank you very much for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, thanks so much. That's a lie. Of course, I'm going to explain it. First, we got to go through the common parts of the leather. Number 1, the strength and properties. And number 3, how that affects the price. Without further ado, we do it. This is a simple diagram of the main parts that most retailers sell. You have the shoulders, you have the bend, the belly, and sometimes the butt. And most of the time, people will sell it in full hide, or even full side. So the most commonly sold leather we have at the shop is called the shoulder. Why the shoulder? Keyword is versatile. The shoulder has a consistent grain pattern all throughout, which is great. It all depends on the quality and grade that you get, of course, but most of the time it's pretty consistent. And with this comes consistent structure, which is nice when you're making bags and purses that need specific weights, and you don't want anything being wonky and changing thicknesses and all that. So now with consistency, this means that you can use almost all the surface area of the leather. Of course, if you plan your cuts correctly, that could go so well. I love the shoulder. I use the shoulder all the time, which brings us to our next point. What can you make with it? Since it has consistent structure, consistent grain, you can make a lot of things with it. Now we're talking about wallets, little things, big things, bags, purses, even belts if it's long enough and if it's thick enough and it's exactly what you want, then the shoulder is perfect. It's a do-it-all, versatile, keyword, leather that we can use for our leather work. Now it's really good for tooling as well because it's so nice and even and plain out, and you don't have to go flippy floppy over the pressures and the way that you. However, this part tends to wrinkle a little more since it's in an area where the cow's neck, the shoulders are moving, there's a lot of friction. It tends to wrinkle a little more, and that also comes with growth marks. Since you're growing here, you're going up in the spine, the gravity's kind of dropping this way. The shoulder will come with those. Not all of them, but a lot of them will have some pieces like that. Now the shoulders are usually mid to high price depending on where you buy it from, and we have them at the shop for around $11 a square foot to $18 a square foot depending on where you get it from. The higher range, of course, is the Italy, and the lower range more of the natural veggies, and those are perfect as well. And now we move on to the belly. This part is the most cost efficient. Out of all the leather parts, the belly has the loosest grain structure, which affects the price. Out of all the leathers, the belly has the most inconsistent grain, but we try to get the best ones that we can as much as possible so you can use every piece that is purchased. Now this type of leather can be used for anything that the double shoulders can be used for. You can use it for wallets, bags, even belts if you really want it, but it is the lower quality compared to a double shoulder or the double bend or even a butt. It comes in black and natural that we have at the shop here. The greatest benefit I would say is that the piece that you're making depends on if it's tooling, if it's dyeing, or if it's anything like that. It doesn't require you to see the full piece as it was or initially was purchased, where you have to dye or you have to tool, you have to put antiquing on it. The belly's perfect for that because you don't really need to worry about what it's going to look like initially. You're just going to cover it anyway, so that's perfect. And you can reduce cost when you're making stuff like that, which is perfect. If I don't say so myself. The belly can also be used to construct the inside part of the bag so you don't have to see it. Like food to a stomach, it's basically just a filler. So you can focus on the outside. Now people say the most important thing is what's on the inside, but for this one, I'm saving money. Leave me alone. I'll worry about the costs on the outside. The outside matters more. Only in leatherwork, not personal issues and or relationships. And if your goal is to start leatherwork or try it out and not spend too much money on double shoulders or anything like this, the belly is a perfect one to try out. Try them out. Don't get scared. If you're ready, get the belly. Now our bellies can go for around $8.50 per square feet, and they can reach up to 20 square feet. All right, now we're going up around the bend. Little Creedence Clearwater Revival for ya. Anyways, so the bend is the middle area of the hide, all the way down to the buttocks region, and is one of the most prized parts of the hide. Now the grain structure is tight. The scarring sometimes is minimal. The structure and thickness is as stable as a 12-year relationship. Relationships and tanneries may vary, of course. Perfecto. And also it's thick, so it's nice and strong. Being that the grain structure is nice and tight, you can use it for a lot of things that need a lot of force. Now this is the thickest part of the leather hide, which makes it less stretchy, which is perfect when you're making straps, when you're making belts, when you're making, let's say, stirrups for your horse. Of course, everybody's got a horse in the backyard. It's Vancouver after all. We don't have anything. Even hurt to have a dog. You could always use it for dog collars, especially if you got big dogs. You know, you gotta really, hey, Buster, don't run away too fast. Now these leathers are long, strong, and down to get the friction on, because you know they're tight. But you know, if it's not tight, it's not right. Shout out. Now, since it's above the danger zone, which is about where the shoulders go and the legs go, it's away from getting the scrapes and all the barbed wires and maybe even other interesting activities cows get to, which, of course, we don't know unless you're a cow. Now, this leather is usually the most expensive, running at about $18.50 to $22 a square foot. Now, we have the single bends and also we have double bends. Now, speaking of expensive, let me tell you about the butt. Not just any butt, specifically horse's butt. Now, if you haven't heard of it, it's called the Horween shell cordovan. Now, if you haven't heard about shell cordovan, you better sit your butt down and listen. Well, you have to. It's just, I thought it would be funny. Hopefully you don't get offended that it's sorry you didn't know. Now, the Horween shell cordovan has the tightest grain pattern, the cleanest grain, and what happens with this, since it's hot stuffed and, you know, there's some special stuff that goes along with the process. Of course, it's secret. Thanks, Horween, for having this. It doesn't wrinkle as much as any other piece that you can get from the hides. The butt is the nicest piece you can make anything out of. Horween shell cordovan is the most coveted, and frankly, always frank, the most expensive one, running at almost $100 per square foot, sometimes even more. And the maximum amount the shell cordovan you can get is about 2 square feet, 2.5 square feet, or something like that, which is insane. But if you're making something like watch straps, wallets, luxury goods, even boots, it has the best resistance to wrinkles and creasing, which is muy bueno. Although we don't have it at the shop as full hides, we do have remnants, usually around 1 to 2 ounces and all the way up to 5 to 6 ounces. For watch straps, little wallets, anything like that you want to make out of Horween, we got you. Now lastly, we have to discuss the full hides or the full sides. Now this is for people making large amounts of leather goods. It's actually the best for boot makers and shoemakers, because depending on how the leather's laid out, the creases or the way that the leather stretches or the way that the wrinkles show up, it's really beneficial for shoemakers, especially when you're using something that's high wear or something that you're going to use for everyday wear. You don't want to have it in the wrong grain direction. Now, a great example here by Bob Henderson, where he talks about which part of the leather he uses because of how it stretches, how it wrinkles, and is perfect for his boot making. So when you're getting large hides or large sides, it's great to keep this into consideration. Although you're not going to be using all the pieces of the hide, you'll use a lot of them. Like this picture from Lost Dutchman Leather. How interesting, how fun, how efficient. Now, sometimes getting full hides and full sides can be an economical way to go at it as well. Leathers like the Heritage can go for $11 a square foot, and those are usually full sides or German Anolines or anything like that. You'll see it on the website. Check it out, lonzaleather.com. Hopefully you find something that works for you. Now, you can get these leathers at the shop at 76 West 6th Avenue or go to lonsdaleleather.com. You'll find everything you need there. If you have any questions about leather, if you have any specific concerns or notes or anything about the leather, feel free to email us at info@lonsdaleleather.com, and we can't wait to see what you'll make. Please tag us, because we'd love to see it. We're so excited. All right, we'll see you in the next one. Peace, 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 peace.